This is the week of my major goal race, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Hey, cycling community, this is Steve Grusis, the Cycling Greek. Before we talk about that, let's get into this race. This is one of the short races, 5.6 miles. I am forced into the B category. When you look on Zwift.com, I am a category C. Why is this happening? I don't know. I used to be a B because in the beginning, when I first started getting into Zwift, I was doing crits. And I was doing the short crits, usually less than 10 miles. Eventually I improved and then I was forced to upgrade into a B. When I was doing the road races, I would get crushed because I just wasn't used to doing that amount of wattage over that distance on a trainer. A few years ago, after I came back from breaking my collarbone in a practice race, I found that I needed to be downgraded. This was back when ZwiftPower.com was first purchased by Zwift, or they had some sort of joint venture, I'm not sure, but they were able to clear out the data, and so basically I started from zero on ZwiftPower.com. I worked my way up to a C and happily have stayed there. A number of you may be thinking, hey Cycling Greek, don't be a wuss, just ride the Bs. Well, for those of you not familiar with my channel, I am 67 and subject to atrial fibrillation. So anything longer than 6 miles, I'm going to do as a C until ZwiftPower.com forces me up to a B. If anybody out there knows why I'm not able to do certain races as a C while I'm listed as a C on ZwiftPower.com, please comment below. Let's get back to my goal week. It's actually started on a Saturday. I had a huge, tough training ride, 67 miles with 6,700 feet of climbing riddled with climbing intervals. On Sunday, I did 90 minutes of solid endurance on the trainer, on Zwift of course. Monday was the 90-minute small ring easy spin day. And Tuesday is the race you're seeing today. On Wednesday the next day, I overloaded myself by doing a short, fast group ride. What I then did was I took the next 2 days off, Thursday and Friday. On Saturday, I plan to do no more than an hour and do some leg openers, and I'll be ready for the race on Sunday. I use this week before regimen as I did my other major race earlier this year, and that was actually due to circumstances. And it seemed to work out for me, which is why I'm doing it again. I guess we'll have to wait for the race recap video to see how this all turned out. Let's now go to the action on the screen. I'm still with the front group. We started with, or rather we have 30 finishers in the race, and right now I am in the group of 13. The 14th person is something like 31 seconds behind, and the 15th is even farther behind that. So they're probably in groups of 1s or 2s back there. About 70% of the A's, B's, and C's are 30-somethings. Jumping ahead 40 seconds to about the 4.4 miles to go mark, this is where the action begins. We have an attack. Right now everyone's watching each other. I'm certainly not strong enough to jump after him. But after a bit, we have somebody that's going to attack, like what's happening right now, and then others are going to start to follow. And those are mostly the A's. I know there's going to be others that are going to jump after them. My plan is to jump on someone's wheel and hope that the algorithm shaves off enough wattage that I can stay with them and they pull me up to whatever group is going to then be forming. As you can see, I'm not getting on anybody's wheel. Finally, somebody's there. Now the question is, am I going to be able to hang on? It looks like I am. Then a couple of people come from the back, just scream on past us. That incites others to try and go after them. And now we're a group of 4, and I'm still on the wheel, but I'm just barely hanging on at this point. In fact, after I drift to the front, I take my foot off the gas a bit. One by one, each of the others try to bridge up to the group that's forming up ahead. I'm the only one left. I'm now giving everything I can just to be able to get onto somebody's wheel. At the same time, I'm looking at the graphics on the right and see that the next person behind me is about 30 seconds there. Fortunately, I'm able to hang on with a couple of the others that weren't able to bridge. The rider in the black kit is a category A, and I think the other is a category C. We are now 3.3 miles to go. At 0.3 miles to go, the Cat A rider just leaves us in the dust. I make an attempt to go after him, but there's no way I can match his power. I'm looking at the guy in back of me, and I'm also looking at that graphics on the right side. I see there's at least a group of 3, maybe 4 now. They're about 33, 34 seconds behind. And I'm thinking, if I'm solo, can I stay away from these guys? Can I stay away from those group of riders for 3 miles? Now I see that it is at least a group of 5. I'm hoping my breakaway partner sees the same thing. That chase group shaved off a couple seconds. Jumping to the 2.4 mile to go mark, it looks like that my breakaway partner has lost his internet connection because he slowly goes off the back. I'm also catching up to somebody else who's dying off, so he may be having some internet problems too. I don't know. What I do know is that group back of us, they're now down to 17 seconds, 16 seconds, 15 seconds, 14. These guys are doing somewhere between 4 and over 5 watts per kilogram. I'm only going 3.5. I gotta go faster. And at the 2-mile mark, going faster is what I had done. And it was hard to keep that up. And I got a little bit of a rest going down this descent. Partially because I'm on the descent and they are not. The gap to them is now up to about 22 seconds. And it seems like that group of 5 is split a bit. So maybe there's 2 or 3 that are in the lead chase group, or the ones closer to me. I'm back on the flats and trying to go as fast as I can again. Now, I'm keeping an eye on the time gap, and I see that it's at 20 seconds, and I see the closest person is 17, and I think that person was the one that was in our group that had dropped back because of what I think are internet problems. I have to let up on the gas a bit because I'm not able to maintain as much power as I'm doing right now. So I'm keeping my eye on that gap, and I'm letting it drop. I mean, I can let the gap drop to a certain point. That point being when it gets past that point, then I'm in danger of getting caught. Again, I'm on a descent, so I get to ease up a bit, but I got to keep in mind that everyone else is on the descent too. So it's time gap versus the amount of distance left to get to the finish line. And right now, there are about 17 seconds, and there's a couple people at 17, so they can be working together. And I have about 1.4 miles to go. Still a long ways, relatively speaking. We now jump to 1K to go. They're 10 seconds behind me, and that's about the limit. Anything below that, then I'm in danger of getting caught, at least in my mind. So now I'm going as hard as I can. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the watts that I'm doing. My threshold is right around 275 watts. At a half mile to go, I notice that the gap now is up to 11 seconds. I still don't consider myself safe. It's always in the back of my mind that I'm going to get caught at the last minute, because usually that's what happens. When I was younger, I'd get caught on the last corner in crits, and since I can't sprint, even in Zwift races, I take off before the sprint starts, and I usually get caught. Now it's just under half a K to go. The gap now ranges between 11 and 12 seconds. While it's looking good for me, I don't feel safe. I never feel safe. I'm always trying to match my watts per kilogram against what they're doing. Looking up ahead, I see that rider, that Cat A rider that was in my group. He's only 4 seconds ahead. Sitting here doing the voiceover for this video, I'm thinking, hey, I'll just go after him. But the reality is, I was pretty much on the edge, and it was getting hard to maintain that threshold of 275. The distance to the line is now measured in feet, not in tenths of a mile, and the group in back of me is 10 seconds away. I was still so unsure of myself that I maintained the pace all the way to the line. As it turned out, I finished 14th out of the 30 finishers, and 3rd out of the 5 finishers in the Cat B. I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. As always, remember, comment, like, subscribe, The Cycling Greek.